generally speaking, when it comes to any kind of science, when I say science, I mean a field of knowledge, yeah? Or generally, epistemically, how do you come to a conclusion about the value of something? So if something is true or false. Well, for example, if I said to you now, are you alive?
Depends what the statement is.
So if I say to you exist, yeah? So do you accept that as a presupposition, your own existence?
That would, yeah, in a very rudimentary way.
Alright, so do you accept that there's a place called Speaker's Corner in London?
Yes.
Yeah? Do you accept that you're living on Earth?
Yes.
Alright. So, do you accept that the Holocaust happened?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so here, let's go with that last example, yeah? So for example, the Holocaust, you're a young man, you look like you're in your 20s or 30s, yeah? Maximum. So, maximum. No, 20s.
I don't have one grey hair.
I got a lot of grey hair. Anyway,
You're in your 30s?
Nah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You tell me I'm in my 30s. 17.
Anyways, I was going to say to you that so let's stick with that example of the Holocaust, yeah? So you weren't there in the Holocaust? No. You didn't see it with your... So you can't employ an empirical... Because here, there are different standards of truth. So like you can say, for example, empiricism, using your 5 senses to come to conclusions of something. In the case of the Holocaust, it's not an option for you, yeah? So what is the only option is testimony. You see what I'm saying?
Tentatively.
Yeah. So do you accept that testimony can sometimes be?
You're talking about, okay, let me just clarify.
Yeah,
You're talking about historical events.
Yeah.
Now the original question is, what's my standard of evidence?
Yeah.
And that's in a very general way. And you started with actual ongoing things like Speaker's Corner that we're at now. And when you go into history, obviously there's different requirements.
You think so?
Of course.
Well, okay, look, I'm not saying that.
Of course, you prove history differently than proving your own existence.
I'm not
right
saying
now.
that methodologically that historians use the same approaches as, for example, sociologists. I'm not saying that. Yeah? Are you with me?
Say that again, sorry?
I'm not saying that methodologically historians use the same methodological approach as, say,
completely different.
Yeah, not completely different.
Okay.
To sociologists,
Mostly different.
or psychologists. Sure. Although sometimes you can put it under one umbrella of social sciences. Yeah. Anyways, the point being is, I'm saying that if your standard of truth tends to be kind of like testimonial, in the case of, for example, say the Holocaust, or your own existence, or let's say, maybe not your own existence, that's not like the Holocaust, or say, for example, the existence of a country you haven't been to before, that's existing today, yeah? Or something like that, or a planet you haven't seen before. These are examples of things which are testimonial, you see what I'm saying? So if that is your standard of truth, when it comes to theology, yeah,
If that is your standard
yeah,
of truth.
if it comes to theology
Big if.
and philosophy, you just said it was, right?
I never said anything about
You
standard
said
of
that the
truth.
Holocaust, you believe that it happened.
Yeah, but I made clarification that to believe that things occurred historically is quite different from believing you're here now, or even or anything else.
I'm just talking epistemically. I'm just
Anyway,
saying,
continue.
epistemically, if someone says to you, here are some pictures, here are some videos, here are some testimonials that the Holocaust happened. Here are some pictures, here are some videos, here are some testimonials that the Earth is round, for example.
Sure.
Yeah, because these things, you believe the Earth is round, not by virtue of the fact that you were elevated into space and you saw this spherical Earth. You believe the Earth is round because you were told it was through testimony and showed through pictures and videos, right? That's one example. Yeah, so these are all examples of you accepting something to be true using testimonial evidence. I'm saying if that's your standard of truth, you should proceed to a theological discussion.
No, not yet, because it's the standard of truth and the things that you cited. There's many other things where that doesn't apply. Sure. History. As you just said.
With history, do you accept that heaven did exist?
Yes.
Okay, so you said that.
But that's not a controversial thing. I mean, the whole point, you're going, this is the point. You look tired already. So, because you're moving quite quickly from that to theology. Now, theology is clearly controversial. You know, no doubt about it. Now, no, because I'm going by your examples. Yeah? The existence of the Earth isn't necessarily controversial. Sure, I said necessarily. You know, these people are in the hundreds at most. Okay, actually, we're quite a few now. It's quite a few now. The existence of Henry VIII isn't necessarily controversial. I mean, come on, man. Let's be very aware of general rules. We should look at each case on its own merit. You know, the Holocaust is controversial. Maybe not its existence, but it's the degrees, you know what I'm saying? So if you're going to move quickly from that onto theology, you know, you're jumping a bit quick.
Well, it seems like you're moving into it quickly. I'm not saying you're committing it, but you're almost committing what's referred to sometimes by some as the democratic fallacy. The democratic fallacy is when you suggest that something is true or false on the basis of those who believe it. So, for example, if you say that something is controversial and therefore it's less likely to be true, then you're attaching the true value of that thing with what people's perception of it is.
Sure, it's a very good general rule, but like I said, see, this fallacy isn't always so enlightening because do you believe in Henry VIII?
Maybe it's
okay, because it's not a very controversial thing. We both agree in Henry VIII. Now, we're both subject to the fallacy on things like, what's a good example? Giant squid. Giant squid, some scientists believe don't exist because there's only been like 5 ever found. Now, if I asked you, do you believe that giant squid exists at the bottom of the ocean floor, what would you say?
Depends on how you define giant. I've seen squids.
I'm going by the biological definition, which is a giant.
So am I a giant?
Anyway, look,
I don't know.
I knew there would be specific.
You know, I'll tell you something, Darren. I'll tell you something funny, just to kind of bring that. You know, I didn't see my dad for a long time. Yeah, he went abroad and whatnot, and he came back. And he looked at me because I'm taller than him. He goes, "Are you a giant?" And I didn't know how to answer that question. Right? The question is, a lot of these things depend upon definition. You see what I'm saying? You said giant squid. What's your definition of giant? You know what a squid is? That's a different story, right? What I'm saying here generally is, what I want you to understand is that in theological discussions, we shouldn't retreat into an approach, or we shouldn't retreat into a place where we use different standards as we do in other places. For example, in philosophy, or in general, in history, or whatever, you have a certain standard of truth. You're willing to accept that Henry VIII existed. You're willing to accept that the Holocaust happened because of testimonial evidence. If that's your approach, fine, that's fine. Now let's talk about that approach. I haven't got a problem with that. I think that's a good approach. Yeah, because generally speaking, I haven't been to 200 countries in the world, but I know that they exist, right? Sure. I have confidence that they exist.
Can I just say something there? See, this is where the error occurs, I think. You go from this very specific example, like you said, there's many specific examples, and then you said generally speaking. We don't want to generally speak about these things. This is the point.
About what things?
About the standards, the different definitions. We shouldn't speak generally about it. You understand?
Okay, so at the point tell me, come on, fine. If you're saying that, I'm saying there are general principles. So I'm saying that I'm putting it in place. If you're saying, for the most part, I accept testimonial account so long as it fulfills X, Y, Z criteria.
No, because I never look. I'm really making the case for specificity here. Now,
okay, fine.
Let's say.
Can you be specific?
So I'll give you a general example. Yeah. If you said "Does Speakers Corner exist?" I would have maybe referred to 2 requirements to say it exists. Now with other things, there are further requirements, and what was the word you used that you have to meet? Standards. You know what I mean? Not everything has the same requirement of skepticism.
Tell me what.
Like I said, some things are controversial, some things aren't.
So okay, once again, as I said.
Sorry, are we on the same page?
We are on the same page, right? If what you're saying is that, for example, it's controversial for a reason which relates to its, for example, the primary source materials in the case of history. Yeah? So something like the existence of, I don't know, Cyprus the Great or something, yeah? Or whatever you want, something obscure, something which happened in the Bronze Age or something like that, where the primary source materials are not conclusive. And you said, okay, that's controversial for an academic reason. That's different to saying it's controversial for what I refer to as a democratic reason, which is kind of like, okay, people differ on this. People differ on almost everything.
I think it's the same thing.
No, I don't think it's the same thing.
Why isn't it? Why is it different for academics, for example?
Okay, so academic reasons usually cite evidences, whereas the lay people are not specialist enough. What I refer to as a popular controversy versus an academic or otherwise evidence-based controversy. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, but the thing is, when I said they intertwine, they tend to intertwine most in the scientific, theological places. You know, because there's an academic lack of academic consensus in science, in evolution, for example, and in theology. I mean, the reason that most evolutionary psychologists disagree with many evolutionary biologists is because of the lack of academic consensus, and that trickles down into conversations on Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and certainly it's the same in religion.
Yeah, certainly it can be the same in religion. So I'm saying, I don't think there's a point of disagreement.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I don't even know what you're saying.
The point is this, right? So long as you're talking about testimonies, that's one way of you ascertaining the truth, right? You're ascertaining something using testimonial account that meets a certain methodological criteria. That's what you call history. The study of history is based on that, actually. Primary sources. Yeah, you look at things on their merit and see how many people have affirmed these things.
To clarify one more thing.
Yeah.
You know how...
And basically, in a nutshell, bro, sorry, because you made the point about present versus history, yeah? History is the study of the past. Now, the conversation I had with you like 2 minutes ago, that's the past, right? Everything is history, in a sense. If you want to talk, everything is history, in a sense, right? However, I know generally historians in the academic world, they won't say something is history unless it's at least a decade or 2 decades.
Yeah, well, that's
right. But that's something else, right? But what I'm saying to you is, the methodological approach can sometimes be used, if not exactly the same, but in a similar way, in different conversations, like philosophical conversations and elsewhere. Like, for example, you know you're your mother's son, because your mother, the woman who brought you up, gave you a testimonial account. She told you, your name is Darren, okay, I'm your mum, you grew up in this house, but you didn't demand to see, like I'm saying, your birth certificate and to do a DNA test and to go through the actual method. You get me? So from that, do you have any doubt that your mum is your mum?
No, but like I said,
so testimony in that case
it's fine. Yeah.
Right.
But okay. you made a point about history. The thing is with history, the reason you can't compare history to the study of a tree or something is because
the study of
a tree, I don't know, or a giant squid. Yeah? It's because there's different, deeply different.
Really? Man.
Well, let me tell you why. Because history isn't the past. History is the study of the past. You know, make that clear. And history isn't one method. I mean, you should know if you've done this, that there's many different types of historical methods, you could say. Historical materialist ways of looking at history, historicism, historiography. These are very different ways of trying to ascertain the actual events of the past. And that's why history is far more contentious than almost any other topic that I can think of outside of religion or science. You know, sociology is very clear cut because you can look at the study of societies.
The way you put it there, I don't really agree with.
Tell me why you don't agree with that.
All right. Well, I've said to you before, something being contentious and controversial doesn't depreciate from its absolute truth standard. In a nutshell. That's one. Number two, the study of history, just like the study of science, sociology, and psychology, and all these things, is premised on kind of empiricism and a kind of induction.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were kind of making a big separation between history and science, but in essence, both of those studies depend upon empirical and inductive methods.
No, and I can tell you why they don't.
Really?
So,
okay, yeah, go ahead and tell me how they don't. That would be
I
really
mean, come on. History doesn't rely on empirical evidence.
Okay, so how do you collect evidence? What evidence?
Empirical evidence is measurable, presentable evidence.
Yeah. Okay, so you see
So
the evidence.
in the study of a tree, for example, I look at the tree, I study its physical.
You look at the primary source evidence.
Yeah, and then I can say,
But in history, you're looking.
It's not empirical though.
It is empirical, of course it's empirical.
No, it's not empirical.
What is empiricism?
We have a different definition of empiricism then, because
There is one definition of empiricism.
Okay, so give me an example of a historical piece of empirical evidence.
And any evidence is empirical. Any evidence. Because the way
Is there any empirical evidence proving Henry VIII?
you could argue, yeah.
What is it then?
So there's primary sources
Give me an
like
example
his
of
diaries and this and that.
That's not empirical, man. No, it's not. Because you said that's testimony. Testimony isn't empirical.
You can go home.
I'm going by your own definition.
It is empirical. Testimony is empirical.
Testimony is not empirical.
Let me tell you why it is. Let me tell you what empiricism is. Yeah? Okay, you might not know.
Bro, I mean, I might have to. I never get out my phone, bro. But you might have to get out your phone and check the definition of empiricism.
Okay, empiricism.
It certainly ain't testimony.
For me, hold on. I'm telling
For you.
Alright, okay. That's what I said. Empiricism is something which relies upon the five senses in order to ascertain information. Okay? Everything in essence that you consume is a result of one of your five senses or a combination of them. So when you're coming to a conclusion of something, right, almost anything that you come to a conclusion about is going to be as a result of seeing something, hearing something, touching something, feeling something, or whatever.
Very broad and vaguely.
Okay, so
yes.
In history, you can't have evidences unless you interact with them in one of those five ways. Therefore, history is as empirical as science. Okay, if you don't, fine. No,
Come on, man.
If you don't accept that,
you should see the difference.
Okay, I've just told you how I've defined it. Now, if you don't accept this, it's fine. You can go home. We can both go our studies or whatever. It's fine. No problem. Yeah, I'll see your point of view.
We'll differ on that.
No problem. No problem. If someone sees, if not right now, I see something, all right, happening, and then 20 or 30 years from now, someone asks me what happened, I have felt that situation happen firsthand, and I'm then going to narrate it, and it will become testimony. But it starts off as being empirical.
Okay, well,
that's another way it's empirical.
Okay, sure. Let's say we're in court. This guy says he saw me do something, commit a crime. I say, no, I didn't do it. I didn't commit nothing. In both cases, neither testimony is valid because testimony is not empirical. In the court of law, in history, and in science.
If you want to say that, that's fine. I'm just explaining
because studying a tree. Well, once again, we differ.
No problem. We can look up the definition. What is empiricism?
So, look, take history. Yeah?
What is empiricism? Do you want to get your phone out? Because we were talking about it. Read out what empiricism is. Do you want someone to
yeah, if someone else could do it.
If someone else can do it. Get the definition of empiricism so we can understand what I mean by it. I'm saying, generally speaking, all of those sciences.
Generally speaking.
In general, because everything is in general.
Sometimes we can specify.
You can find.
If we agree, we can specify.
What I'm saying
we could talk about Henry VIII. That's a very specific example.
Moreover, social sciences, by their very nature, attempt to mimic the natural sciences. You know that.
Sometimes very badly.
That's good. Fine. Okay.
Sociology is not an empirical form. That's why sociology.
It is empirical.
Then okay.
But it doesn't follow exactly this.
I feel like you definitely have your own definition of this.
All right, let's see. What is empiricism? Was it E? With it?
Well, why are you looking for it? No, it's with the E. It's with the E.
No. Sorry, that's wrong one.
Okay, so.
Bro, someone get me a definition of empiricism on their phone so we can.
No, it's empiricism. P-I-R-I, and it should come up. There it is, empiricism. Do you want me to read it? Let me read it. Show me it. Empiricism is a theory that states that knowledge comes from only or primarily from sensory experience is one of the several views of epistemology, etc., etc., etc.
Okay, so what did I... Well, hold on. You've just read that?
Yes.
Darren, please, yeah? You've just read out, because I don't mind being wrong here. I don't mind.
I feel like you were, and I'll explain why.
I don't mind being wrong. However, I said to you here...
Can I say it again?
Darren, listen.
Empiricism is the one-trick pony.
Yes.
Hold on. Darren, listen carefully. We don't need to prove anything like intelligence. I don't care if you're more.
No, I'm not trying to do that. But I thought you were trying to prove the definition.
It's on camera. You know what I'm saying? I said, what is empiricism? Something which relies on the five senses. You get me? So here you've read the definition.
Oh, we don't disagree on that.
So okay, fine.
I'm trying to say that a historical source isn't empirical because you don't.
What you're saying is kind of like anyone would not agree with you. Anyone who understands.
I think we have to disagree then, man. Look,
you don't have to be arrogant on this.
Right, sorry, come on, man. Like,
this is not something
I'm not being arrogant.
Bro.
I can't be, come on, man.
Empiricism is a theory.
Come on, man. Like, I ain't being arrogant, man.
Okay, stubborn. You don't need to be stubborn. You don't need to. You just read the. I've said five senses. The sensory experience.
Look,
Shall
shall we pursue this? I'm happy to pursue this.
I've just told you that. I've just read out almost the same
Sure.
thing.
I'm willing to pursue it if you want.
Pursue it.
Look, it's cool, bro. We agree on the same definition of empiricism.
Fine, that's good.
But
Let's move on now.
No.
Okay, go on. Say
You're trying to hot me a little bit.
Okay,
So
I apologize.
let's take Henry VIII or someone. No, you know what? Let's go controversial. Okay? Let's take the Holocaust. Yeah? Now we all know there's a lot of contention around the figures of the amount of people killed. Yeah?
Not really. Not within academic
Fine. Which is another example. If we're not going to agree on that, at least. Yeah. Take death toll figures of the Iraq War, for example. Very contested in the last decade. Yeah? Now, according to many different studies, this many people died. According to this many studies, that many people died. According to your definition, all of those statistical studies were empirical. Now, you should know that that's not empirical because there's not one truth. There's not one outcome. Now, empirical evidence as used in science is look at the tree. We're all looking at the same tree. We're all looking at the same grooves. That's the difference. That's what you're talking about. That's sensory. We can all share the same source. Now, if you're talking about sociology, which is supposed to be empirical, history, which is supposed to be empirical, it's never that because there's always different sources. Are you telling me there's one source to know why you're missing?
Can I say why you're missing?
You should know that history is built from many different angles.
What's your background? What have you studied?
I've studied a lot.
Tell me what you've studied.
Film.
So this is not your field.
It is my field.
I'm sorry, this is not your field.
Let me just say something, yeah?
So
Let me just say something.
Now it's just
You
going to have to
don't
become
understand,
educational.
because you are hurting me a little bit, I feel.
I don't mind.
You don't know what film consists of. You probably think it's, I've done this many times. People misinterpret what I've studied. Film is very much what we're talking about. It's very much sociological. It's an academic.
man, but these are
So I feel like but I'm not like I said. We're not trying to improve. There's no authority. But the truth is, empiricism, as I've stated it, is quite easily Googleable. I've never used that word ever, yeah, but it's Googleable. Yeah.
It seems
The way that empiricism is. I feel like you're hot on me, that's why. Empiricism as used on biology is very different from how it is used in history.
Before we proceed,
Everyone knows that, bro.
no, that what you said is correct. It's
Yes.
different. The usage is different, but the method is the same. You're still using your senses to come to the conclusion of something.
You're using someone else's senses.
Okay,
What
fine.
senses are you using
But
to observe the
it's still someone
Holocaust?
else's finding, no problem.
Yeah, it's someone else's finding. That's completely different from empiricism.
Okay, hold on. Same thing with science.
Bro, if you look at that,
Darren, you mind calming
no,
down?
because come on, man, you're not really going by what I'm saying right
Say
now.
what you want to say. Go on.
If I look at the tree and I tell you, yo, it's a certain way, have you observed the tree? Have you observed the tree? You're looking over there. I'm looking at this tree here. I'm a tree scientist. I'm like, yo, see this tree? It's got 8 grooves. It's 8 foot rounds. And you're not looking. You're just hearing me. Have you seen the tree? Have you observed the tree?
Well, you're saying that, yeah?
Have you observed the tree?
What? In that analogy you just gave?
Yes.
I can't see it, no?
You can't see. You're looking over.
Oh, yeah, no, so I haven't.
Do you have any empirical evidence?
Yeah, your testimony.
No. Yeah, that's cool because I observed it. Okay, fine. In a scientific way, that's cool. You take my word for it. We're both fellow scientists. In historical circumstance, that's not the same thing.
Of course it's the same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's not.
We'll let the people decide.
Because there's always contentious sources.
Okay, fine. Same
Come
thing.
on, man.
Same thing applies. Look, I'll tell you something, right?
I know it's different.
Well, I recommend that you read a book. It's really interesting, very small. It's a good introduction to these things because it will help you understand these themes, and also the people that are watching at home, they can understand these themes. It's a small book written by a guy called Samir Okasha called The Introduction to the Philosophy of Science. Yeah? this book is actually, it talks about empiricism in the first kind of couple of chapters. It's interesting the way it puts it, yeah? The way the guy puts it is, the way I'm going to put it to you now. The observable reality, for example, like you got a vase, yeah? The vase, if you have a vase and you drop it, then you can all observe the fact that it will smash on the floor, okay? That's empiricism, isn't it? Yeah? Okay. Would you agree that's empiricism?
Yes.
Would you agree that's scientific?
Yes.
Right. Now, the way you said it is that you were given the example of different sociological outcomes. You're saying, okay, but these people have this death toll and this, right? Listen carefully. So here, what he says is, yeah, we can all see the vase falling onto the floor, but different scientists have had, historically, different explanations of how it falls on the floor. For example, Newtonian physics versus Einsteinian physics. So both of those are two approaches that aim to explain how the vase fell on the floor. Yet, both of them depend upon the same empirical account. The same thing applies in sociology, right? I'm not saying, by the way, that sociology or any of the social sciences have the same merit or the same they're on the same level as the natural side. Oh, the natural side. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying, interestingly, and this I don't want to make this into too much of a philosophical conversation, right? But what I am saying to you is, interestingly, science is premised on the social sciences.
Science is premised on the social sciences.
I'm going to tell you how, yeah? Because natural sciences have methodological presuppositions, like, for example, empiricism, like, for example, logical deductionism, like, for example, the fact that we're sensing the scientific methodological approach itself. These things are not scientific in their nature. They're actually they are philosophical. They're philosophical precepts. Falsificationism, Karl Popper, who died in 1994. All of those things, and he actually used to lecture in LSE University. All of those things are actually philosophical precepts which underpin the study of science. Do you get me? So from that perspective, you could say the social sciences, in this case philosophy, supersedes or presupposes the natural sciences. So but
it doesn't matter, does it?
No, it does matter. Of course it matters.
Okay, it matters in that way, but the two are qualitatively different.
Okay, so what? Difference doesn't indicate advantage all the time, right? So, for example, if we're saying that,
never claimed it to. I'm just trying to say.
Yeah,
so if we do agree on the definition of empiricism, and empiricism isn't all these things, which I wouldn't, I don't think many people would agree that history is empirical. But even if we did, the qualitative differences between the empiricism required by each is so different. There's no point in even using the same word.
No, okay, fine.
You know what I'm saying?
So now we should move on. I'm happy with what you've said there because it seems like you've matured in your approach, to be honest with you. I don't want you to feel like, look, look, whatever you want to call it, bro. I'm here. I'm not trying to be rude to you. You get it? I'm just speaking.
I don't take offense.
Okay, look, once again, I genuinely do apologize if you take anything rude. I'm not trying to be rude. Honestly, I'm not trying to be rude. Do you accept my apology? Do you accept this? Are you sure? All right. So let me proceed. Yeah. So now, understand. Look, because these are actually it's important things that we fleshed out here. We talked about empiricism. We talked about testimony. We talked somewhat about deductionism, and we talked somewhat about like the logical approach. Yeah. The important truth here is this: is that when we're coming to truth standards, because if I say, look, for example, I believe that there was an initiator of the universe. And the way I come to that conclusion, and that I believe that there was an initiator of the universe, and that the Quran is the final message sent to all human beings, I'm a Muslim. And you ask me, why did you come to that conclusion? I will say to you in a nutshell, bro, I come to that conclusion for a similar reason why you come to most of your conclusions in life. Like, inference is using evidence to come to conclusion. If you want to Google what inference means, I promise you the Oxford Dictionary is going to describe it in this way.
Yeah.
So my inference to the best explanation as to why we're here and what we're doing here is that, in a nutshell, bro, we're here because there was an initiator, creator, maintainer of the universe, put us into existence, and gave us purpose through both intrinsic methods and extraneous methods. So here, these are the two things I believe. And this conviction I have, let's not call it belief because some people will just jump up and down with the word belief. This conviction I have is premised on the same methods that me and you use in normal everyday life. So, I will say to you, instead of going through the arguments, because everyone here has heard the cosmological argument, okay? You've heard it. You're an educated guy. You get me? No, honestly, I do believe you're an educated guy. I'm not just saying that because the
I've
theme.
matured now.
I'm telling you, bro. It wasn't to do with what you were saying, because I, from beginning to end, saw you as okay. This guy's he's informed, yeah. But it was just about your approach to it. I felt like you had your defenses up a little bit. That's what I meant by mature. Like your emotional intelligence, Daniel Goldman, but I don't even believe that exists too much. Yes. Having said that, sorry, bro. Yeah, of course. Alright, so what I was going to say to you was this. Generally speaking, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to tell you the narrative in 20 or 30 seconds and ask you why you don't agree with it, yeah? The narrative, the Islamic narrative is as follows. I'm not sure what background you come from. You're not Muslim, so obviously, okay, this will make sense. The Islamic narrative is that the universe came into existence through the will and power of God, of this creator, of this entity, of this initiator, yeah, that always existed, who was the first, and will always exist. He is the last, right? He put the universe into existence, he put human beings into the universe, and he ascribed purpose to human being, okay, by giving them a mission in life. That mission is to worship him, to submit to his codes and his will, to his laws, if you will. Just like everything else in life is submitting to his laws. Just like there's laws of physics, if you will. There is natural laws. There are also sociological rules. There are also social laws. Do you get what I'm saying? From that perspective, Darren, we believe that this initiator, this maintainer, this sustainer, we call God colloquially, right? God then gave each of the messengers the same message. These messengers are human beings that were born just like every other human being, except for Jesus and Adam. They were born just like all human beings, and those individuals came to their people, respective peoples in time and places, to tell them to basically worship God and submit to his will and do good to your fellow man. With the exemption of the final messenger, all of the messengers were sent to their respective times and peoples to preach to their communities. The final messenger, who believes Prophet Muhammad, was differentiated in so much as he was sent for all of humankind. Do you get what I mean? Now, this is meant to resonate with you. I mean, frankly, we believe in something called the fitrah. Fitrah is the predisposition. Me and you are psychologically, according to the Islamic thesis, predisposed to submit to a higher authority anyway, a higher power. And we're meant to recognize this authority intrinsically, axiomatically, yeah? So I would say to you, if this doesn't resonate with you, first of all, does this resonate with you? And if it doesn't, what flaws or problems do you see in it such that you're not willing to take that first step in order to potentially be one of those members of people that follow the Prophet?
That's a hard question. What's supposed to answer that? Just don't buy it. That's what it is.
If I say to you,
I mean, you have to admit there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake. It's literally the reason of existence.
more so from your side.
I'm not gonna just take a little convenient thing that makes sense. It takes far more than that to prove life and existence. And I feel like it ain't enough, but I don't buy it.
Okay, you don't buy it, but if you say that you don't buy it, now you have to justify it. Epistemically. Because I'm saying that you don't have
obligation.
Yeah, no, trust me. I don't mean it like that. I meant you have to justify it epistemically. So what I meant, so we said already, we discussed like standards of truth. It seems like what you were saying is that in terms of standards of truth, you would accept testimony, you'd accept things like empiricism to some extent, right? You'd accept these things to some extent.
Every case is judgment.
Yeah, so I'm saying here, why is this case any different? What's problematic about the thesis?
You asked me if I'm my mother's son, there's no contention. I can prove with a number of ways to prove it.
How would you do that? But you believed it all your life, you've never done a DNA test.
Maybe I have done a DNA test. It's enough for me. Maybe I just know I'm a mum's son. Maybe I'm fit and faith in the idea that I'm a mum's son.
Why'd you fight that?
Could be fake. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. I mean, that's just one example. I mean, I believe I'm wearing a coat right now. It doesn't take much for me to. There's not much at stake. If I, have to start finding about ways to prove that I'm wearing a coat. There's not much at stake, so I'm not going to bother. When you ask me, why do you exist? Why does everything ever in existence exist? I'm gonna. It's gonna be deep, like the process at which you become convinced.
I was gonna say to you,
so that's not enough to convince. You're telling me what's wrong with it. It's just okay. Well, I mean, let's take a contentious historical issue, something that you might have looked at. You must apply your best standards of skepticism.
Fuck her right in the pussy.
Well, see what I'm saying? That's dead, man. You lot better edit that out.
Yeah, the guy.
Free from that behavior. So basically,
he must be high or something.
You know what? That was on live, and people will see good. He just made himself look stupid.
Go on.
I can't remember what was it.
Yeah, so they do.
Oh, you were saying take historical contentious.
Yeah, so imagine you've looked at something in history and it's quite contentious, but you really want to figure it out. You want to come to a conclusion. So you apply quite high standards in the way that you go about this. You have rigorous and informed skepticism to come to the conclusion about whatever it may be. Now, I feel that a lot of people would apply more rigorous skepticism and requirements for things like this than they would on the greatest answer of all. I feel like it's a bit easy.
Right, fair enough. Let me ask you, that's how I feel. Do you know what you said about you viewing one son, yeah? Let's take that as an example. You know the Quran says, were they created from nothing, or were they themselves the creators of themselves? Chapter 52, verse 35, yeah? It's quite an interesting thing to think about. If you think about not only your own existence, but the existence of the universe in general, right? Were they created from nothing? Because you've got to think about all of the alternatives here, theological alternatives, yeah? If we say that, okay, this thing called God doesn't exist and we're all just here as a matter of, not even a random generation,
sure,
came from nothing.
I never said that.
I'm not saying you did say that.
Okay, cool.
By the way, sorry. By the way, I never said that you said that. And let me make that clear, right? You never said that. The question is, what options do you really have, right?
Yeah,
because
let's get into it.
Yeah, so the Quran says, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ أَمْ خَلَقُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بَلْ لَا يُوقِنُونَ. Well, they created from nothing. So your first option is that the universe, or you, came into existence generally from nothing.
Yes.
أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Did you create yourself? You know that can't be the case because it would assume existence and non-existence at the same time. The same thing applies to the universe, right? Did you go and create the universe? Obviously you didn't, right? Could you say that something in the universe created the universe? You can't say that, right? So, the only thing I can think of that an atheist will say is that the universe was always created, was always there. In which case we can have a discussion about contingency, or they can say there were multiple universes. But then again, there will be an infinite amount of universes, all of which would progressively go backward, which would mean you'd have one universe and have to start everything up. The question is, how do you explain existence when all of the atheistic models seem to be completely out of line with that which is your approach, which is really a testimonial approach, a logical approach, an empirical approach. It's all of those things are out the window with atheism. Yeah, there's actually no deductionism, no inductionism, no empiricism, no inference that you can make that will make atheism a tenable option for a rational actor.
I agree.
Yeah, from that perspective, you're actually forced, in a sense, compelled to steer towards a theistic alternative. And if you are forced towards a theistic alternative, the question is, when you realize that God does exist and the universe is in existence and we are in the universe as actors, rational actors, what are we doing here and why are we here? And the question is, what narrative, what meta-narrative better explains our existence than the one I gave you aforehand?
None.
So why don't you just...
Because they're all equal. This is what it's really about. You gave me a list of conditions in the Quran, all these possible ways that we might exist. Are you limited to those?
What do you mean?
As options?
The ones I gave you, I think we're limited to. Yes.
I don't.
So give me something else.
We don't know.
No, hold on.
Considered that?
I've just said to you that the only option for the creation of the universe.
That's another condition.
What?
We don't. I mean, surely you're aware of the fact that there's certain things that we don't know. Can you tell me what was happening 900 AD in Botswana? Probably not. You know why? Because there's not much history in that part of the world at
There
that
is
time.
AD. Yeah, of course there is. Botswana.
Okay, maybe that's a bad example.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd put money on it to be fair.
Botswana and Africa.
Tell me what was happening in the region of
Botswana.
Hold on.
Wait. I don't want to get this.
I'll give you another example.
Sorry.
What was happening in the Alaska region of the North American
I
continent?
don't even know what's going on now.
Cool, yeah, neither do I. But the point is that there's a lot in history that we just don't know. Because there's nothing that has survived into the present, etc. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I am very content with the fact that I don't know everything. Some people seem to have a weird insecurity and a need for... Oh, sorry, my bad. Some people don't... Some people, I feel, are very insecure with this fact. I feel some people are very insecure with this fact. And their coping mechanism is to often, sometimes use much. These people will sometimes use logic and ration to try to come to the most amenable or convenient way of explaining things. Now the truth is, bro, them man are all being impatient in my opinion. There's things that you will never know.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah? And there's things I'll never know, and I'm cool with that. And I personally believe that the biggest question of all is certainly not the one we know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you hold that thought. We can talk about that. But I'm saying, bro, if man don't even know like the state of political affairs in the northwest region of Mongolia 1,000 years ago, if you can't tell me something that's specific but within reach, then how do you expect to tell me how we came into existence? Scientists certainly can't.
We had a big empire at that time.
Well,
you had the starts of the
that's an example. That's not. The point is that there's a lot we don't know, and I believe that this is certainly.
No, I'm not saying you're
Tell
right.
me why it's a cop out.
I believe it's a cop out because look, you're right that I'm not making the argument that we know everything. That's not. What you're doing now is called a straw man. It's a straw man fallacy. Because what I feel is straw man. I've not made the argument that we've got two presuppositions, right? One of the presuppositions is that you need to know all knowledge in order to come to understanding about our beginnings.
I don't know if that is a presupposition. No, because you might have misunderstood me. I'm not saying we will know once we know everything. There's certain things we won't know.
Okay, so what?
Agreed?
What's that got to do with it?
That's the point.
What's that got to do with it?
Okay, well, if you don't see it, then let me clarify. Do you believe that there's some things we'll never know?
Yeah, I do.
And that's it. I never said that, once we know everything, then we'll know it. That would conclude that I believe everything is knowable, which I never claimed.
So what's that got to do with the discussion of our beginnings and why we're here?
I believe that it might be one of those things that we'll never know.
How can you prove that?
I don't need to prove that.
Okay, so
how can you?
How is this relevant to our discussion?
I think that's entirely relevant. What's your name again? Mohammed. Yeah, I think that's entirely relevant.
So you're saying this? Okay, look.
I believe, bro.
The thing is, look, hold on. If you wouldn't accept this for, let me give you an easy example. Right? It seems like once again, and this is why I end up having whatever your background is, whatever your background is, with your kind of argument. I accuse them of always having different standards of truth. So when it comes to all the other sciences in life, they have certain standards which are very clearly defined: testimony, empiricism, inductionism, abductionism, whatever you want to call it, probabilistic reasoning. All of these things are all employable in all sciences. But when it comes to theology, they're thrown out. Now, what I'm saying is this: when we were saying, you might not know it, which is very much agnostic kind of approach, yeah? What I'm saying is this: if you went to court and someone does really something bad to you, say a child or something, I'm just saying, that happened. Someone raped a child, and there was like 10 cameras on them. And you had to, in order to come to a conclusion on, you have to kind of review the evidence, and then and the judge comes out and says, you know what? After reviewing the evidence, we know, or we have some information, but we don't have all the information. Therefore, we can't really take this person and punish that person. Do you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be something you would accept. So once again, the standard of truth, if you were to really employ it where it counts for you emotionally and psychologically and in your life, you wouldn't allow, you would call it injustice, right? So the same way I say to you, look, if your standards of truth are such that you've just mentioned, the ones that you just mentioned, we just gone through, and I've given you this kind of outline which fits that standard of truth, why not accept the standard of truth?
No, because I think, once again, you've misunderstood it, because take the court analogy. There may have been a way of finding out about all the facts and therefore coming to a conclusion about what actually happened. I'm saying this is not the case. There's many things that we won't know, they cannot be known within our scope, at least. So that's what I believe. I mean, I don't believe I have to verify that, bro. I mean, because you've agreed that there's some things that we'll never know.
I don't see.
And so when I say, oh well, this is one of the things that I believe we'll never know, you suddenly have a problem, even though you agree that there's things that we never know.
You have no reason to. That's the point. So an agnostic will say, we can never know, or we can say, I will never know in the first person. I will never know what happened, right? And I will say, do you know that you will never know?
I don't see how it's relevant.
It's very relevant.
Tell me why it's relevant to know whether you know.
Just answer this question first, and I'll tell you why it's relevant afterwards. I'm asking you, do you know that you'll never know?
No.
How do you? Okay, so why make the point?
Because I'm applying the same principle to that.
No, but
there's certain things I don't know. I might not ever know if I know. Bro, come on, man.
Hold on, listen carefully, man. If your belief is that, okay, this whole thing is that you never know, right? And now, obviously, your result of your experience and your knowledge that you've acquired in, let's say, 28 years. I'm guessing it's 28 years. All right.
You said I was in my 30s earlier, though. So
I said maybe
you redeemed yourself there.
Okay. I like the jacket. What do you think? I like the long one.
I mean, your tripod's the same as my one.
You don't know.
It's the same.
You'll
It's
never
exact same.
know. You get it?
Exact same.
I'd say that.
I just know
Yeah. So from that perspective,
same as
you
your
can't
one.
make that argument because that argument is contingent. Yes, that argument is contingent on your
That
current
sounds
state
like
of affairs.
your
No, I changed mine,
necessity.
didn't it? Like, got
You may require personally
Just
the need to know that you know. I personally don't work.
No.
I don't qualify my
It's your colour
beliefs.
there, my colour. Huh?
You know what I'm saying?
Same
Saying
as
that, you said we don't know, yeah?
Yes, but I'm
I'm saying
answering.
this theological,
You know the newer company?
the universe coming into existence and us having a purpose here, yeah? That we will never know, yeah?
I never said that.
Okay,
because
then
that indicates a point of a level of certainty. I never said we'll never know. I said it may be one of those things we'll never know.
Okay,
Because right now, I believe we don't know.
okay, we don't know.
Yeah, this one goes higher.
You should say, I don't know.
Haha, bro, I say we don't.
Okay, fine, so
100% we
what
don't.
you're
Bro,
doing
any
is you're
rational person will look
generalizing.
at human knowledge and see large gaps.
So how do you
particularly
know that I don't know? Because you said we, so we is a collective pronoun.
call it a belief then if you want. If it's more convenient. Yeah, sure. Call it a belief if you like. But I believe that we don't know. I believe that we don't know.
Anyways, good.
No, you're a joker.
I like it. Listen, I apologize.
You did a little bit, yeah?
I'm still learning. I like it. We'll get some food after. Tell me where you get this.
We were just saying he didn't pursue it to the end.
Okay, what do you want to say?
No, it's cool, bro. I need to go as well. It's late.
Yeah, if you want to say anything,
Next time.
It's been a pleasure, man. I'll give you my notes and chat to you.
Keep it real, yeah.
Guys, make sure you subscribe to all these respective channels, except for content over everything. No. Except for content, because they already subscribed, bro. I'm joking, of course.